Welcome back to our Beatrice YouTube channel. Today we'll be learning how to make this beautiful halter neck blouse with a cape. Okay, so this is the cape and this is the halter neck and the collar. So it's a very simple tutorial and I'm sure you're going to get this if you pay attention to it. If this is what you like to learn, kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Okay, so to make this top, I already have my bodice drafted. I'm just going to quickly explain this. Okay, so from here to here is my shoulder measurement, and then here for my neckline I use 3 inches by 1.5 for the front and 3 inches by 1.5 for the back. So I normally use 3 by 1 for back, 3 by 1 for back and 3 by 3 for front, but I added extra half inch to it because of the joining of the shoulder. Okay, so here is my actual shoulder measurement. On that shoulder point I'll be going down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and then I'm going to connect it to my neckline here. Sorry. Okay, so that's my shoulder slope. Here is my chest line measurement, and then I took the same measurement there to have my armhole line, and then I just drew this small armhole cut because this is still an halter neck and I'm still going to be cutting the majority of this out. So this is my bust point, this is my waistline. I'm stopping this at the waistline. You can extend it to wherever you want it to reach, and this is my waist that I'm working with. So I folded the front and back together, you can see. So this extension that we have here is the zipper allowance for the back. So now let's quickly continue this. So to form our halter neckline, I'm going to be going down from this my neckline point. I'm going to be going down by 1 inch because this is still going to be having a bishop collar. Okay, so to accommodate the collar, I'll go going down on this my neckline from the shoulder, from the upper part here. I'll be going down by 1 inch, and then I'm going to be redrawing my back neckline because as you can see the back neckline no longer aligned. So from here I'm going to place my curved ruler and then draw a new back neckline. So this becomes my new back neckline. I'm no longer using this. So now the next thing is for me to join from my neck point here to my armhole for my halter neck. So using a curved ruler, I'm going to be connecting from that point to this point like this. Okay, so this is my halter neckline, and like I said, this part will be going off. So before I cut this off, the neckline off, remember I went down by 1 inch here, and like I said, this is going to be having a bishop collar. So to know the measurement that I'm going to use to cut out my bishop collar, I'm going to measure the neck measurement that I have here before I cut it out. So now I'm just going to be placing my tape rule here and then take the measurement that I have here around. So here I have around 5 and quarter. Okay, 5.25, 5 and quarter. So now I'm going to be writing that down. My neckline for front neckline is 5 and quarter, but because of the joining that I'm going to be having here, I'll remove the half inch for the joining and I'm going to be having 4.75, 4 and 3/4. So that's for the front neckline, and also I will be taking the back neckline measurement. So for my back neckline, I'm also taking the measurement round, and here I have around 4 and 3/4. So if I remove half inch from that, the back neckline is going to be 4.25. So back neckline is 4.25. I'm writing it down so that I will not forget when I cut this out. So now I can cut out my pattern. So I've been having several requests on basic bodies, and I'm thinking of doing a detailed tutorial on basic bodies and different types of neckline that we'll have in the comment section. Okay, so on the channel, sorry. So If you're a beginner and you don't know how to draft a basic bodice, kindly let me know in the comment section to see if you have people like that, so that I can do a detailed tutorial on different types of neckline that we have, and then on a full basic bodice, especially for beginners. Okay, so now I'm cutting out my front neckline. This is the front and this is the back. So now I want to draw out my that's for the back bodice. Okay, so this is my front pattern now, and this is the back, and I already have my back that my zipper allowance also on the back. So now the next thing I'm going to be doing now is to cut out my bishop collar. So now to cut this out, now we need the measurements for the neckline that I took for both front and back. So for the front is 4.75 and I have 4.25 for the back. If I add the two together, I'm going to be having 9 inches. So that is what I will be using to draft my collar. So now for my collar, I'm going to be grabbing a fresh paper like this, and then I'm going to be taking that measurement. Okay, so now I have my starting point. I left these spaces because of the allowance that I may need to add later. Okay, so now I'll be measuring the 9 inches from here. So I'm just going to take my tape from here, and then I'm measuring 9 inches for my front and back neckline. Okay, so after measuring that, now I'm going to rule this out. So now for the front, I'm going to be dividing the front and the back. For the front, I have 4.75, which is here. Okay, so this is my 4.75 for my front neckline, and then the rest here is going to be for my back. So now I'm going to rule this now, and I have this for the front and this for my back. So the next thing now is to determine how high I want my collar to be. So you can use 2 inches, you can use 1 inch, you can use 1.5, depending on how big you want your collar to be. But I think 1.5 is okay for me, so I'm going to be marking 1.5 here. And then I'm going to make that into a straight line. Okay, so because this is going around the neckline and the neckline is not straight, so to create a straight curve here, I'm going to be going up here by 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to be replacing the 1/2 inch here, so that I will still have my 1.5 that I need here. So now the next thing is for me to take my slightly curved side of my ruler, and then I'm going to connect this to the center point here. Okay, and then I'm going to connect this also. So you can see that this is no longer straight, and this new here is now my new shape for my collar. So to avoid gapping at the front part of the collar here, I'll also be going inwards here by 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to be connecting that to this point. Okay, and then my collar is ready. The next thing is for me to add 1/2 inch. This is going to be the center front. So this side is going to be cut on fold. I don't need allowance for that. So here also in my back neckline pattern, I already have zipper allowance. So this zipper allowance was measured with my back neckline, so I don't need any allowance here. Also, I just need to add 1/2 inch allowance on the upper part here and on the lower part here. Okay, so my allowances are added now. I used a red marker so that it will be different from the upper one, and then I'm going to cut it out. So when I'm cutting this out, this side here is my center front, and it will be cut out on fold. Okay, I'll be folding my fabric into 2 when I'm cutting that part out. So the next thing we're going to be cutting now is our cold shoulder cape. Okay, so for the cape, from the picture we can see that the shape of the cape is not regular. It's tiny around the neckline area here, then here it became wide. Okay, so this is the front and this is the back of the cape. So I'm going to try to simplify this as much as possible. So we're going to look for a simple way of cutting it so that even a beginner will be able to understand this. So to do this, remember the cape is going to go around this armhole area as seen in the picture here. So I can use any of the front or back panel to cut out the cape. So I'm just going to pick one of this pattern, okay, and then I'll grab a fresh pattern paper like this one, and then I'll be putting it on fold in a triangular form, okay, like this. So I'll be putting it on fold in a triangular form as seen, and this is the open part of the triangle and this is the closed part, okay. So the external part of the cape, that's the part that is going to be outside here, as you can see, is the one that is going to be on the fold point of this triangle pattern, okay. This part, you can see that this part is not joined together on the shoulder. So when I'm placing my pattern, I'll place it in such a way that this side here is going to be on the fold part. So I'm going to be placing my pattern like this, and then I'm going to be marking out the shape that I have here. So if you look at this now, you will see that the cape is sewn up to this point, on the bodice. You can see that it's sewn, then from here is left freely. So I'm taking that to be my armhole line on this point. So from here is where my cape is going to be tying. From here up to this place is going to be tying, then from here I'll have something big, something bold. So now I'm going to be drawing that on my pattern. So you need to determine how wide, the measurement that you are going to be using for this part of the cape, okay, the one that is going to be going around the arm. You can measure that on your client, okay. So for me, I'll be using around 3 to 4 inches for this part, depending on the size of the arm that is going to go through this place. So I'm placing my pattern like this now, and then I'm going to draw this out. I remember I said the tiny part is going to stop on the armhole line that I have here. So I'm noting that part, and then the part that the arm is going to go through, you need to take that measurement. You can use 3.5, 4 inches, depending on how wide the person's arm is, okay. So if let's say I'm using let's say I'm using 3.5 inches. So from here now, the 3.5 inches will stop around here, which means I'm going to resize my pattern, okay. So if my 3.5 inches is stopping here, I want to note that on the pattern. So I'll make sure that I place the pattern in a way that this edge here is on this hold point. I hope you get that, so that I will not need to cut it open again, because that place is not cut open as you have seen in the picture. So now I'm going to redraw my pattern, and in this case now I'm going to be using this red marker so that I will not be confused. So here, this is the pattern now, okay. So this is the pattern, and this is where the tiny part is going to stop. So now if I remove this pattern, for the tiny part I'll be measuring 1.5 inches, or depending on how big you want it to be. So 1.5 inches like this, and then I'll use my ruler to connect it, the curved side of my ruler, to connect everything together. The 1.5 inches marks that I have, I'm connecting it together. Okay, so now for the long part, depending on how long you want it to be, let's say I'm using 6 inches. So from this edge I'll measure 6 inches like this. I'll take the 6 inches and start measuring it around like this, and then up to when I get to this point that is the longest part. So here I'm going to take my straight ruler and connect this, and then I'm going to be connecting the 6 inches that I have here. So remember I said there are several ways of doing this. I'm just trying to get a very simple way. So now my cape is connected, and I have something like this. So because if you look at the picture, this point is not so sharp, this point that we have here. So I'm going to find a way to try and blend this part, and that's this part here. Okay, so here I'm just going to blend this in. Okay, so I'm going to place the curved part of my ruler now and then look for a smooth point so that I can just have something curved like this. So can you see what I have now? Now I'm going to place my pattern on it and then draw out my neckline. So this is my pattern now. I have my pattern, then my neckline is going to come like this. Okay, so now I can cut this out. So because this is a pattern, you can still place this on your front, your neckline, and then if there's any adjustments that you wish to do, you can still do, because you have not actually cut it out on our paper, on our main fabric, sorry. Okay, so this is my cape. Now I'll just try to see what it looks like on my main pattern. Now let me just fold in the seam allowance, and then this is what it looks like. Okay, so this is what it looks like. So like I said, now you can just bring in your actual pattern and look at it. So now this is the front part, and I think I'm okay with what I have on the front part here, as you can see. Now this is the back. Let's check the back. Okay, so if you are okay with what we have on the back also, you can go with this, and if you are not okay with it, you can actually do whatever adjustment that you wish to do. For example, now if you don't want the back neckline to be this straight, okay, so you can actually place another pattern on the back and then hold with the masking tape and then reshape it. Okay, so I'm going to reshape this so that we can see that we can actually make any adjustment that we want at any point in time. So if you want the back to be straighter, so after placing this, you can just take your ruler now and then connect from here to this place, and then you have a straighter back. But I'll be maintaining what I have. I'm just showing us what we can do. So now I have all my pattern pieces ready. This is the cape, this is the front, the back, and this is the collar. So I'm going to go over now and cut all this on the fabric. Okay, so I've cut out my patterns now. This is the front, this is the back pattern, this is the cape, and this is my collar. So for the collar, I just put it on fold, and then on this, I made sure that the center fold part is on the center front. Okay, so the fold point, so when you open it, this is what you will have. Okay, and I cut two of these to turn it out. So for the cape, I just cut two, one for each side, because I'm using a scuba fabric. But if you're using a fabric that you need to turn out, you'll be cutting four. So two for each, one for main fabric and one for lining. So now I'll take this to my sewing machine. Now I'm going to take my darts and then I'll join them together on the shoulder. So after doing that, I'll bring it back to join the, or let me just explain. After joining them together on the shoulder, I'm going to try to join this also by noting where my sewing will stop, which is here. So I'm going to note that on my pattern, then I'll place this like this. I'll sew it, and then I'm going to turn it out like this. So I'll bring it back to show us. Okay, so I've taken my darts, as we can see, and then I've joined it together on the side. So I've sewn one side of my cape. Okay, so this is it. I've sewn one side. I just thought to show us. Now I'll go over and sew the other side, just as explained. I'm going to make sure to put it like this, but there is a mistake I want to correct here. When I was drafting the cape, I drafted the front and back neckline the same way, and it is different, as we can see. Okay, so when you're drafting yours, make sure that you do not make this mistake. So I later corrected it. When you're drafting it, just place the front on it, and then when you want to draft the back also, you place the back neckline on it to shape this place. I'm talking about this place. Okay, it's not the same for both front and back. Yeah, I corrected this one. Let me use the pattern so that we understand it. So we can see that for the front panel it is accurate like this, but for the back it's not going to be accurate because the neckline is actually different. So we can see what we have on the back, that is different. You can see the shortage that I have here. So when you want to shape it, you shape your front separately and then place the back neckline on it also and shape it separately. I hope you understand that correction. So now I'll go over to the machine now and then sew in the cape for the other one. Then I'm going to fix my collar. Okay, so now I've sewn my cape to this, and you can see, so you should use a matching thread. You can see that you can see my thread here. When you're making yours, make sure you use a matching thread and you sew it. Then I went ahead to add my neck collar to this, so you can see how beautiful this is looking. So with the method that we did use in cutting our cape, it will give you opportunity to do any variation. If you want your cape to even come out more, you can do anything you want. Just place your pattern, your cape pattern on the main pattern, and if there's any adjustment you wish to do, you will just correct it. So this is what it looks like on the front, and this is the back part of the cape. Okay, so this is the side, this is the side, and this is the back. So I just held the back with pins. So like I said, if there's any adjustment that you wish to do to this, you can do it at any point in time before you cut this on your main fabric. So this is the collar at the back. I hope you enjoyed this. Kindly like, comment and subscribe to our channel if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.